Welcome to the Mankind Cave. Welcome to Kayfabe Connection, your home for facts, rumors, knowledge, trivia, and everything you know or hope to know about pro wrestling. If you have not done so already, hit the subscribe button down here. It's right there. Click it. Because you're not going to get Kevin's wrestling podcast where we predict and review and your reaction and No. We're giving you companies across the board, not just one company, but all companies across the board, all continents and countries, local shows, indie shows. We're covering all topics here, and hell, we might even branch off of wrestling. We talk about video games, shoes, all kind of like video games. Look, I'm trying to get an Arcade 1-Up deal in the Mankind Cave. Look at that. Look at that. Shout out to Arcade 1-Up. And most of all, shout out to you. Thank you for visiting our page. Make sure you subscribe to Kayfabe Connection. Go ahead and click it right here.
Hey, this is Adam, a.k.a. Edge, a.k.a. the Rated R Superstar, a.k.a. Dwight from Haven, a.k.a. What was my name in Bending the Rules? I can't remember, but you're listening to the Kayfabe Connection.
This is Matt Jackson of the Young Bucks, and you're listening to the Kayfabe Connection, your home for facts, rumors, knowledge, trivia, and everything you know or hope to know about pro wrestling.
It's just too sweet.
Yo, is my camera working? Am I good? My camera's good? Okay. I was just making sure that the camera worked so that everybody could see me. You guys can see me okay?
That's the clearest picture ever, so.
Okay,
Clear
cool.
as day.
And you know, my eyes are kind of bad, but I see it.
Welcome to the Mankind Cave. Welcome to another episode of Kayfabe Connection, your home for facts, rumors, knowledge, trivia, and everything you know and hope to know about pro wrestling. Guys, down in the 504, my favorite city, other than Detroit, that's like 1A, 1B. Detroit's 1A, New Orleans 1B. It's number one. New Orleans zone, Larry and Logan. How you guys doing this week?
We're all right. We're all right.
Great. All things considered, doing good today.
Yeah.
Right.
What have you guys been into this week as far as like nerding out over stuff like beyond just wrestling, like anything under the sun?
Call of Duty,
Yeah.
playing multiple matches. Call of Duty and I guess Smash Brothers. You know,
Yeah.
A little bit of Third Strike, Street Fighter.
Who do you got in
What'd you say?
Smash Brothers?
My go-to would be Little Mac, a
Hmm.
little bit of Ryu, maybe Ken, and Mario. Those are my four
Dude,
go-to.
Metroid is my dude on there. I like Metroid and Link.
All right.
I with Link on Smash
I
Brothers.
never really played with him. I have to play with him.
Yeah. Yeah, Star Fox is
Yeah.
pretty cool too.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah. What about you, Larry? What are you getting into this week?
I've been listening to a lot of music, I guess, to take my mind off of the current events that's going on right now. I mean, my mind is on it because it has to be, because of the obvious, but
Yeah.
I've been listening to a lot of the Freddie Gibbs and Alchemist album, actually.
Alfredo.
Yeah, I think
I got to get into that
Freddie,
tonight.
I posted the picture of Jordan after he won his second championship. I say, this is Freddie Gibbs, 2 summers in a row. Because remember last year he dropped Bandana,
Yep.
and now this summer he's dropping this. It's like last year he worked with Madlib. This year he's working with Alchemist, like 2 of the best producers ever.
Right.
It's a classic. Like I haven't skipped a song on the album.
Oh, definitely got to listen to it after this.
And also
Top to
another
bottom.
thing,
Yeah.
HBO Now came out this week. I mean HBO Max came out this week.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I've been digging into that heavy.
Man, and like I saw some horrible takes on it too, because like, dude, there were some people on there that were like, man, all HBO Max is like HBO with Fresh Prince and Friends. I'm like, dude, do you not get down with like DC animated, like Crunchyroll, like anime?
Also-
like,
it's the
Also, what's wrong with HBO with Fresh Prince?
right?
Even if that was true, like what's that's a good
Hey,
thing.
is my mic working? Is my video working? Everything looks and sounds good? Okay.
That's Friends if you don't like Fresh Prince. I mean,
And
Well-
also on top of the Friends and Fresh Prince, there's like a plethora of anime on there now. Like
Right.
they have Studio Ghibli, which is like one of the well-known anime studios. They did Princess Mononoke. I forgot how you pronounce it, but they did that movie. And there's a bunch of Crunchyroll content on there.
Yeah.
So there's like tons of anime on HBO now, and the
That-
Boondocks is on there.
Oh, I've been running through those too.
Right.
Yeah, just been on the floor dying laughing at Uncle Ruckus.
Yeah, if anybody knows me, they know Huey Freeman is like my spirit animal. And Logan knows, like, even before the Boon, I don't want to be that guy, like the gatekeeper, but I was reading the Boondocks comics in like 2000, and I had the graphic novels, and when I found out there was a cartoon coming out, I couldn't believe it. There was must-see TV every week, and HBO Max has given me the opportunity to relive those. Even though I have them on DVD, it's easier to just watch it on the app because I don't have to get up and change the DVD every 5 episodes.
Yeah, right.
It's a little bit too much black programming on that. Dude, I think I probably only watched Friends probably like one time in the 90s when they first came out.
Here's the thing about
I don't even know what it's about.
Here's the thing about Friends. This is not a secret. Everybody's a fan out there. If you haven't, Living Single. Remember that show on Fox?
Right.
I loved it. Sundays,
Small little show. Yeah.
good day for programming, dude. The Simpsons. You had Married with Children, which, dude, you run back Married with Children in 2020. That shit is like, wow.
Even like the early days in Living Color.
Yep.
Living Color, yeah. Living Single. Come on, man. Tell me Friends is not a direct ripoff. And shout out to Jay-Z for the La La Land video with a lot of different famous actors.
It's
basically it was a satire of something that literally that's what it is. Like Friends ripped off Living Single.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Isn't it funny? Like you got Fox with all those cultural 90 shows, and then look at the news channel.
That's the news channel and the station have nothing to do with each other, but
yeah, I know, but it's just like Fox name on it.
Yeah.
But The Rock too was on Fox, one most underrated sitcoms of all time. Rock.
Oh man.
Yeah.
For sure.
I canceled my DC subscription because I was like, man, they got the same exact things on here.
Yeah.
In the DC.
There's a lot of good Batman animated on there. Yeah.
And anybody who wants to smoke, anybody who wants to debate me, I say it time and time again. Ben Affleck's Batman, Christian Bale's Batman in a hand-to-hand fight.
Man, I mean,
easy. Because he was that pissed off Batman. People don't know about that Frank Miller Batman. That dude had a mustache like murking dudes and like banging supermodels with a fierceness. This dude was angry Batman.
Yeah, he was all grizzled and bulky and
grizzled vet. Yeah, he was a grizzled vet. Yeah.
So you mean to tell me that Christian Bale Batman is more Esquire GQ magazine?
Right.
Yeah, he was all
for you.
He was all flash.
Walk on the fucking set while someone did a us. Good for
no,
you.
not for him. I like him as an actor.
That soundbite on Kayfabe. Good for you. Anytime there's someone like a WWE slappy that's like hyping up WWE programming, you just hit him with that good for you. That's one of the most legendary sound bites, dude. Oh, man.
I'm watching some WCW 2000 in the back.
Oh, there you go. It's just a little background stuff and motivation.
Benoit jumping off the ladder.
Right. The name to not be spoken.
Right.
So let's get into this wacky world we call wrestling, man. So this week, I would say the most newsworthy thing that happened in wrestling this week, man. FTR, 3 initials. And there's people that were downplaying it, which is hilarious to me because I was at some matches when people were losing their minds over Revival versus American Alpha, best out of 3 falls. People were losing their shit. Match went on for like 45, 50 minutes. I was in the crowd for that. Nobody was acting cute about the Revival then. I remember, was it Brooklyn? Was it TakeOver Brooklyn with the match against Alpha?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, and they just tore the house down. Bangers on bangers. It's the same old song when you get pulled up to the main roster. Like, you already know what time it is, dude. We gotta change them. Gable, make them Shorty G, and Revival, give them like, French porn star outfits or whatever the fuck they tried to put on them. FTR now, they've teased it in being the elite. They are AEW bound now. They are there. They pulled the truck up. I thought it was hilarious because Chucky T put on Twitter, he said, I can't wait to roll up to the arena with my Honda Civic. But they did the truck pull-up style, outlaw style, always a nice touch. And they jump out, and it's Butcher and Blade in the ring with the Bucks. They do the tease, like they grab the Bucks by the hair because they've teased it on the show. They've done this fuck the revival thing back and forth.
Years.
They were in separate companies. So these seeds have been planted long ago, and the payoff was worth it. Did it suck that there were no fans? Absolutely. It stunk that you didn't get a good visceral reaction from fans. But at the same time, it still felt big. Like my mouth dropped, and we were all in the group chat like, oh shit, this is happening. It's great that the Revolt are now in AEW because it solidifies them. I think that was the last piece to really solidify them as having the best tag team division on planet Earth. And I'm looking right into the camera with conviction as I say that. AEW is the best tag team division on the planet. Right. And it's undeniable. And the Revolt are really with they're we can put the balls back up. The neuter job is done. We can let them go. We can let them open a show, close a show, give them 45 minutes. And we all kind of know where this is leading to. I think the obvious answer is that the Revolt are going to face the Bucks at All Out September 5th. Hear me out on this, though. I was thinking about this. I'm into like gyms that people throw in. Shout out to Kugler, great director. Directed some great movies over the years, Ryan Coogler.
He can't miss. He hasn't done a bad movie yet.
He likes to throw gyms in there. So AEW was throwing gyms in there this week, and I smelled what they were cooking. Hear me out on this. Cody Rhodes cut a promo. Notice it wasn't the typical white meat babyface promo. He kind of had a little bit of angst to his voice, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
He brought up he was the fourth person that Tony Khan called to jump ship and start this company up.
Which that might be a shoot, huh?
You're ripping off gimmicks. There they go again, ripping off other companies. WWE did the Four Horsemen. I can totally see a Four Horsemen revival happen. Now, obviously, there's copyright laws with the naming and whatnot. They could just be the four. It doesn't matter. But what I see happening, I see this. I see Tully Blanchard. I see Arn Anderson.
Yep.
I see Shawn Spears. I see the Revolt. And I see Cody Rhodes turning heel on the Elite and joining them to form a modern day Four Horsemen.
That'd be pretty dope.
Yeah, I'm ready for another heel Cody run.
Not only that, everybody who bashing Shawn Spears.
Oh yeah, exactly. And it's a perfect time for him too to go heel.
Right.
Because he's at that stage where, oh, he's goofy. He showed his butt cheeks on the pay-per-view. Oh, he left WWE for this. Oh. Yeah, he did. Because now he's going to be in a huge stable.
But to your point, like, just imagine, like, I mean, the stable will last, like, what, a couple years, maybe, if it's good, a year. Through that time, Shawn Spears, his stock is going to rise. And you know eventually, like, the blow-off is going to be Cody's going to leave him and turn face again. Well,
Yeah.
where that leaves Shawn Spears as a top heel in the stable and probably even a top heel in the company if they do it the right way.
And that's a great point. And the thing is, too, another thing with this heel turn, we already see all the dweebs that are like, oh, Cody Rhodes, there he goes. He's a champion now. He's the Jeff Jarrett of AEW. The hate's already there from people that are wanting to be smart and cute about it. There you go. Just run with it. Just be a heel, dude. I'm the champ, dude. Just come out to the Jeff Jarrett TNA music if you want. I don't give a shit. But Cody as a heel right now, he's such a great babyface, but there's so much they could do with this Four Horsemen stable. And think about the solid matches you could have. All four of those guys can go. Yeah,
And
Shawn Spears works some comedy stuff. He can go.
Right.
So, I'm about to say, and they did the Arn and Tully finish. on the Blade and Butcher, like the old Brainbusters finish.
Brainbusters.
Yeah.
So they
Jim.
already teased it.
Gyms, just like I said, planting those little seeds. Some people just sit, eat wings, and just like fart around, play on Twitter, watch it. I'm looking for those gyms. I'm looking for psychology, storytelling, continuity. I don't know, call me crazy. I like watching that stuff unfold. And I've watched it for so long, it's the point where you notice those things quickly and go, ooh, did you see the tease? Did you see? That's where I see this going. And to put a bow on this, I think they're going to walk back that blood and guts match. Inner Circle was involved in that. Who's to say you're not going to have an Elite take on a Four Horsemen type stable? And have Omega, Hangman, and the Bucks, and maybe Broken Matt or whatever version 2, whatever he's coming out as, and taking on the Four Horsemen stable. With like a MJF, you could maybe even see MJF pair up with Cody. Some people might think that's stupid. It could happen down the road. Like, oh, you came to your senses, Cody, like hug and whatever. But there's just so much room that they could go with this character versus just a babyface Cody that comes out every week, thanks to fans, yada, 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 with the suit. He's such a great guy. I think the momentum for a slow turn here is newsworthy. And for the Elite, it freshens up the Elite. To have Descent in the stable and to branch out from it. Hell, even add a new member, and you could add Marty in for, they've been teasing him on BTE. So sky's the limit with this. Put a bow on that topic, but any closing remarks on that? You guys are down with that idea?
I was saying, like we keep saying every week, it goes back to, I think a lot of it has to do with the time in Japan working with Gator. They're able to like go in and out of storylines. Like everything is like well thought of. Like even the fact that they came to the ring and looked at the Bucks and attacked Butcher and Blade, they just set up 2 feuds.
Right,
30 seconds.
Yep.
It's not, everything's not linear in this company like the other place in Connecticut that I won't name.
No.
Like everything has to be like linear in that company, and they have millions of riders. I just don't understand it. But here, this new T-shirt company is starting up, and they're able to like tell 2 different stories in the ring in a matter of like 30 seconds.
Yep. Yeah. Anything to add, Logan?
No, I love the idea. I didn't even think about it like that.
Yeah.
But I did see the picture of Tully and Arn. It was posted on All Elite page, I believe. Somebody page on Instagram. They had all 4 of them together. And I was like, man, that would be dope if they got together.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have nothing else to add.
Awesome, man. Well, yeah, not switching gears, but not really staying in the same vein of AEW. For our next segment here, Larry.
Yeah, so it was
around the campfire.
Yeah,
somebody's contract's up in August, Larry.
Yeah, so if anybody,
let them know.
Yeah, if anybody's on Twitter and they notice Tony Schiavone took a selfie with Nyla Rose, like basically saying like she's one of the greatest what she is right now. But if you look in like the left part of the frame, you see Adam Cole teasing up with Chris Daniels.
No, he's about to get buried.
And the scuttlebutt for a while has been that Adam Cole is like at all of these events. He goes to all the parties, and I mean, if you don't know, Adam Cole is he married to her or the girlfriend or boyfriend? What are they married?
I feel like they're married.
Right.
Well, they're together. Him and Britt Baker are together. I'm sorry, Dr. Britt Baker. She's a dentist, if you didn't know. They're together and they live together. So the speculation is with Adam Cole's contract running up that he might end up on TNT in the near future. And I mean, I know the WWE elite fans. Excuse me, the coffee getting to me. The WWE elite fans, they're gonna deny it, I guess, and say like, "Oh, why would he go? Why would he go there? Why when he's the NXT champion? All of this stuff." But I mean, look at the obvious. All his friends are in AEW.
Right. And what else can he really do? That.
And also, like you're underestimating his relationship with the Bucks. Like those dudes are like legit, like tight. So I could definitely see him over there.
And could
and
you see this being, and could you see this being a domino piece that kind of like once you push the domino piece, it's like there's just an effect of just like, okay,
Yeah.
because
Yeah,
Sting,
because Sting,
And
and we all know what Sami Zayn stands, especially the last couple of days if you've been following him. But even like Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish, I mean, they're no stranger to the Bucks either. And you talk about tag team division. Imagine them getting Red Dragon. It's it's curtains after that.
I'll give you a reason.
They could almost just do a show just for tag teams at this point.
Hey, I think I legit think that's gonna happen in the near future.
Yeah.
A tag team pay-per-view, yeah.
But like we talked about it offline, that imagine Adam Cole and the Bucks like reforming like a Matt Rushmore type of stable or something in AEW.
Yeah, because the Bucks have to be heel at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. I can dig it. Yeah, man. I mean, his contract's up in August, all out September 5th. And this isn't a case of 90-day no compete. His contract ends in August, meaning he could just walk away and just go right and jump ship, do Lex Luger style, button up all the way to the Adam's apple, just hands on the hip, dude. Just
for all we know, he shows up to every pay-per-view anyway, so there's no difference. This time he's just gonna be in front of the camera.
What else can he really do after this glorious NXT run that he's had?
And that's the thing. Oh, why would he jump ship, dude? He's got like the longest reign as champ in NXT. Remember another wrestler who did? Asuka. What did she do before she finally got the belt again? Because Becky got knocked up by Seth Rollins. 0. Job to Charlotte at Mania. Watched it at the Superdome. My knees were burning really bad and uncomfortable. I went and got nachos with Logan. Missed Nakamura's entrance. That Asuka, yeah.
And that's the thing. Like maybe Adam Cole is like getting ahead of this because like his stock is rising, and eventually they're gonna be like, "Oh, we need you to take the call up." I hate even saying that term because it's really a call now. But he's gonna take the call up and go to Raw. He sees the writings on the wall. He knows what's gonna happen. He's gonna be hot for a minute. And then after that, he's going to be on a mid card. So maybe he's trying to get ahead of it. Actually, Darby Allin brought that up on the latest TNT AEW podcast.
I have to listen to that one.
Yeah, he was basically saying how he watched how other guys leave the Indies and go there and they fall into obscurity, and he didn't want to be that way. That's why he refused to go to WWE.
I'm pretty sure Mike Bennett might play a hand in it also.
And I'm glad Darby said that. Because when we say stuff like that, the fans, the WWE fans, are always like, "Oh, why y'all talk like that? Like that's not true." But now we know the wrestlers really do think that way.
Right.
If Darby thinks that way, other guys think that way, and Adam Cole's probably thinking that way. And Britt Baker's probably telling him all these great things about how the company, and he's watching the way the company's being treated right now during the pandemic or whatever. Have they fired anybody yet? I'm sorry. What date is it?
Right.
Did they furloughed anybody or fired anybody? The other company has.
Nigel McGuinness just got furloughed by WWE. Yeah, sent me that in the group chat. I was like, what? So much for NXT UK. I mean, progress. I mean, I don't know what it is. A dead British wrestling scene that nobody talks about ever on a wrestling feed. NXT UK. Check it out. Tyler Bates. Sometimes he's healthy. Sometimes you see him. Dude, he had a banger with Pete Dunne in Chicago at the TakeOver in Chicago. What happened after that? I knew more about his love life with Liv Morgan than I did his wrestling matches. Bruh, we could go on, but we're going to get into topics. We're just not going to sit here and spin this over and over again. It gets tired, man, but good grief, dude. It is so tiresome. Just defending that stuff or pretending it's not happening in front of you, because it is.
And then today we see, related to Adam Cole, kind of, I guess, we see a story today about AJ Styles feeling like bad about Gallows and Anderson leaving. So who's to say he's not over there looking like, all right, man, I'm wasting the last couple years of my career. I want to end on a high note. He's looking at all the great things TNT is doing right now.
Well,
who's to say AJ Styles doesn't jump ship?
I've listened to some popular podcasts that said that he's in his prime in WWE. And
he just signed a 5-year deal, right?
He did?
I think
he did.
Oh.
Yeah.
Dude, come on, man.
Well, Well,
I'm glad
Sami
he got
Zayn, I still got hope for him leaving.
Yeah, I
But
mean, I'm glad he had his match with Taker, but after that, it's like, where does he go from here? There's really nothing for AJ Styles
He
at
did
this
it all.
point. And I'm not AJ Styles. I'm not that man. He makes his own decisions about his own life. Alan, the character, the human, not the character, AJ. Um, but man, you got to sit back sometimes. I know Logan laughs about it all the time. Like, what are they thinking when they put the pin down? Like, surely there's a lot of regret. Because, like, shout out to the Hoots, the Good Brothers, followers and friends of Kayfabe Connection,
yep.
Machine Gun and Gallows and Rocky, Talking Shop, great podcast. MLW Radio, killing it. MLW as a company, killing it. Wrestling and podcasting. But Talking Shop, dude, they throw jabs in all the time. And on the last episode, Machine Gun was like, what in the fuck was I thinking signing that last contract? So the gloves are off, man. They just go at it. So
Still waiting to see when he gonna show up.
exactly. So I'm waiting for that. They're probably going to New Japan, but it's just we're at this point in wrestling, and AEW is established as like it's been a brand for like a year. This company is legitimate at this point. This is not some rinky
Startup
shit.
Yeah.
And even listening to the popular WWE slappy shows, even they admit that AEW has handled this P word that's happening currently better than the $1 billion global company that is WWE. So even the biggest slappies admit that they've dropped the ball with the live shows with no fans compared to this company. And somebody asked me that off podcast. They were like, man, what do you think the secret ingredient is with AEW just getting it, like utilizing people more and doing this? And it's real simple. It's not like we're on a mountaintop with a staff like, we are the most knowledgeable wrestling fans and we'll pontificate. Nothing worse than a podcast host that pontificates as if they are right and all of you are wrong. But I think it's safe to say that we are at this point where they are such a legitimate company. It's beyond just podcasts like ours or Twitter handles like others. It's wrestlers in the game that are vets that point out the fact that they are a legitimate competition and they have a lot of money to spend. So this isn't some issue like we heard the joke all the time about TNA and Impact. Oh, they had issues paying their employees, and the wrestlers haven't gotten checks in months. You're not hearing shit like that in AEW. Notice that? You don't ever hear that rhetoric. Everybody's getting paid. And on top of that, there's people like Britt. Darby's making movies. Britt's a dentist. There's all these people that have other ventures instead of them punishing you unless you do some shitty like Marine Part 97 or whatever. Like, so
Right.
there's room to grow too beyond just being a wrestler. So it's going to be interesting, man. And especially when the live crowds kick back in and that revenue kicks back in again, I think people are going to be more comfortable with telling companies to go fuck themselves and jump and ship and join a different brand. So hell, we've already heard EC3. Dave Lagana already said last week on Inside the NWA, EC3 is going to sign with NWA. Breaking news, if you haven't heard last week's episode, EC3 is going to sign with NWA. Perfect fit for him. Can't wait for a banger against Nick Aldis for the Charlotte. The Charlotte that I like. The Charlotte that's not in my face on 3 different programs on a weekly basis. We're talking about the 10 pounds of gold NWA title. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, put a bow on that segment. Thank you, Larry, for sharing that. We talked about wrestling podcasts. We're not going to get into this. We're not going to get into picking sides or defaming certain wrestling podcasts, putting a black eye on people or putting words in their mouth or virtue signaling and judging what other podcasts say or do or whatever. There was a big stir because a certain wrestling podcast made a crass comment, made an analogy. The joke didn't land. That person got a lot of hate for it, which was kind of it was kind of an interesting week because we just had the passing of a young woman at the age of 22, right? Kind of more so.
Yeah.
It's kind of hypocritical to insult someone because you felt insulted. See where I'm getting at with this? So that brings up even more bigger topics, and especially the relationship between wrestlers and like fans. So I know Logan had some things to say about this, and you can address it. I'm not going to put words in your mouth about the subject, but just wanted to front load a little bit of knowledge about what we're talking about so that people will have an idea and there's some context. So Logan, what are your thoughts on all this stuff?
Well, you already gonna name drop his podcast.
Go for it, man. Like, if you want.
Well,
It's your
what
segment, dude.
Fred is over there talking about is JD from NY 206, a very popular wrestling podcast. I find myself listening to him weekly because he's very funny. But it was a particular joke that he made about Alexa Bliss, and I wouldn't have made a joke probably that way. I would have came up with something a little bit better. I mean, obviously, with all the backlash and stuff. But man, the selective, what I wanted to talk about is the selective argument. You know what I'm saying? Like it was kind of sexist what he said, but you also work for a sexist owner who also pulled his pants down and made women kiss his ass or made them strip down, butt naked and bark like a dog and stuff like that. So where was the argument?
Or it didn't take women's wrestling serious for years either.
Exactly. And also he didn't say the N-word before, live on the pay-per-view. But then when you start talking, it's like, oh, you're a mark or whatever. This is the only form of entertainment that I find if you have some kind of critique, that's the blanket statement that they go to, that you're a mark. Why?
And doesn't it seem like it goes like that?
Right.
Where they're on Raw or whatever weekly episodic show that you fancy, and they're like, "Oh, without the fans, we would be nothing. Thank you guys, and we love you." And then you walk into them, bump into them in person, and they're like, "Get the fuck out of here, Mark," or "Get out of my face," or they're online or they're in shoot interviews and they're like, "Oh, these marks, they've never taken a bump." That's something me and my friends used to always say. "Oh, can't talk about wrestling, never took a bump before."
Right.
I've never been a sous chef in France, but if I go to an exquisite 5-star restaurant and the food is whack, do I need to be a sous chef from France to know that my food sucks and it doesn't taste good?
Yeah, I don't have to be a graduate of Cordon Bleu to know that something sucks at a restaurant.
Yeah. I've never directed a film, but I have an opinion about what movies I dig and what movies I don't like. Like you loved Uncut Gems. I thought that movie sucked ass.
Classic.
I hated it. And that's the
classic.
thing too. That's the thing too, Larry. I love Sandler and I love the studio A24. I got the Detroit poster in my room. Difficult film to get through, but a story that they told knowing they were going to have 2 to 1 cinemas scattered across the country. Mainstream didn't want to show that movie. They made that movie anyway. Shout out to John Boyega. We won't get into it. It's a wrestling podcast, but he's a real favorite Star Wars character. Shout out to him. But stuff like that. I'm not a director. You've directed stuff before, music videos, little mini docs, stuff that you've had a hand in. So you have more knowledge than me. So someone might want to go to you first before they go to me about certain subjects. It's just like anything.
Yeah.
Right.
But when you just dump on somebody, and especially something you've put a lot of money in, dude, I could probably buy E-class bins with the money that I've dropped on wrestling, primarily WWE, as much as it pains me. I could be riding around in an E-class Benz right now.
Right.
With the disposable money that I just threw at wrestling. So it's super insulting when that's the immediate go-to is, oh, marks, they don't know anything. That's some like Bully Ray type shit. Like,
Right.
Shit is so annoying. That's my little tirade about that, Logan. Sorry, continue.
I mean, I'm like, Larry, you want to elaborate? Because I'm kind of like,
No, I mean, you've said everything I would say. I mean,
I just
it was distasteful. He shouldn't have did it. But on the
right.
same token, you WWE fans got to realize there's a lot of problematic stuff that the company does,
Right.
and the owner of the company does.
Right.
If we're gonna be pissed about that, are we pissed about the 205 Live dude that had somebody stepping his knee on his neck?
Right.
Post?
Right.
Who I didn't even know who the hell he was before all of this happened. So
It's
it shows you how much I care about him.
The point is, this is the thing, and we'll get real here. Obviously, the lines are blurred on the show here. On our podcast, we will unapologetically be honest in our opinions. You see the clothing. This is not just some propaganda statement. I live this stuff. This is real life that we're going through right now. And hopefully you come to us for an escape from some of this stuff. But we're also not going to give you Kyle and Kevin's Wrestling Podcast. We're going to review Backlash, and then we're going to predict. And then we're going to talk about more than that. We're going to talk about life. We're going to talk about video games. Shout out to the great folks at Arcade One Up. NBA Jam coming to my house June 22nd before my birthday. Can't wait to whoop everybody with Isaiah Thomas and Bill Lambier. Quick plug for Arcade One Up. There's going to be stuff other than just straight every run-of-the-mill cookie-cutter wrestling show where it's the same stuff and all this, and it's just dude humor, guy locker room shit. We're not going to touch any real stuff because we might lose followers. Dude, our Kayfabe at the letter K, F-A-B-E connection on Twitter. Dude, I see for every like couple fans we get, I'll make a tweet and we lose a bunch of people. And we're not doing this to be like, all right, here's our demographic. Here's our audience. Ooh, I might not wear this hat because I might piss off some people. Like, we're not about that. We're three fans that are real human beings that are passionate, not just about wrestling, but a lot of things in life in general. A lot of forms of culture and art and so on and so forth. So that's our thing here, is it's going to be real. And hopefully through that, you have a feeling and a sense of comfort that it's not just locker room talk because there's three males that host the show. And we're not going to be sensitive to certain topics. We're not going to virtue signal and be overly sensitive, but we are going to not be insensitive.
Right.
And we're going to be real about topics. And we're talking about issues with women, and especially in the wrestling world. I have a little segment that I'm going to get into today about that very topic. And I'm a man. What do I know about being a woman? And it's a man's world. Do the James Brown, horrible James Brown accent. But I felt so inspired by a certain program that I just want to give my perspective and thanks on it and show appreciation to a trio of women who should be damn proud of themselves for a product that they just put out. So no, we're not going to sit here and be like, oh, it was just boys being boys. We're not idiots. We're not going to sit and condone that stuff. But we're also not going to pull the pitchforks out at someone because they made a crass comment and they realized, okay, I messed up. And
yeah, he gave a heartfelt apology.
To really go, you know what, I need to check myself, because isn't that like, can't we just like correct someone without canceling them or just ending their life? Like, especially at a time, again, rest in peace, former wrestler lost her life because of cyberbullying. In a week where that happened, now we're telling a podcast host, I hope your cousin dies when your mom gets in a car wreck. These are horrific, awful, repugnant statements to make to someone. Yes,
Right.
the comment was crass. Somebody said you can't fight darkness with darkness, right? Come on, man. Be better. We've heard that saying in the last week. Be better, do better, be kind. We're about that here. So again, we got to get real sometimes, and there's topics that we're going to speak passionately about, and we're not here to endorse anybody or throw somebody, name drop somebody under the bus like we're above things or this and that. It's just we're three people, we're really passionate, and we're going to be real about stuff. So as we proceed to give you what you need, P. Diddy style here. So yeah, we'll put a bow on that topic. Larry, I know you got a good one cooking. I think this is a perfect time, though, for me to just segue into my segment, and then we'll end here before our main event. We'll get to Larry's segment, but this is a perfect segue here. Let's go for it. NWA Girl Power. Go to NWA's YouTube. Subscribe to them if you haven't already. Enjoy all of their content that they have. What's Causing All This? They had an episode. It was an awesome interview with a couple NWA wrestlers. I don't want to spoil it, but you can check it out. It was a great episode. It talked about the British wrestling scene, gave insights into all types of different stuff. So that was a great listen. Inside the NWA has been awesome. They talked to Eddie Kingston and Homicide this week. I listened to that one. I can't say it enough. Eddie Kingston is one of the best on the mic, period. And in a company where they have Eli Drake, like they asked him who the top 3 people are on the mic, and he did a dial-on. He did Eddie Kingston, Eddie Kingston, Eddie Kingston. His confidence and bravado and just his swagger, man. Eddie Kingston is one of my all-time favorite just wrestler, indie guys. Like, he talks the shit, he backs it up, he puts on solid matches, and he's real. He's not some goofy caricature of a person. He's a real person.
He's a tough guy too. Something that's missed a lot of times these days.
In wrestling, yes.
Yeah, he's legit. You legit feel like he could go in the bar and beat some people up.
I want him on my side if we're rolling deep into a place. Like, I want him in my squad. Like, oh man, follow us. Like, we'll buy you a beer. So yeah, Eddie Kingston's a real one. He's a great guy. So there's a lot of good content on there. Today, I was waiting on this because they teased it and said it was going to be part of the programming. It didn't drop last Friday. It did today. Now, I guess this is going to be like a video podcast, kind of what you're listening to right now, but it's with all of the NWA women's roster. The 3 main hosts are Marty Bell, Sienna, and friend and follower of Kayfabe Connection, Thunder Rosa. It's such an incredible watch. I urge everybody to go watch it. So here's just a few notes about the show. And again, we delve beyond just wrestling and, he hit a, brain buster and then he went for the elbow. And we're not just reciting moves and just regurgitating stuff on the show. They talk about real subjects on this. And I think you have certain companies, they do foul revolutions and constantly have to announce the thing they're doing. Like, when Michael Jackson put out Thriller, Mike didn't go around and be like, guys, I'm putting out like the greatest album of all time. It's going to be the top. Thriller just happened. Thriller was a thing, and I was a kid doing the moves and cried if my parents didn't put the VHS tape, and I was doing the Beat It. And Thriller was a legendary thing, and they let it happen.
Right.
There's been foul revolutions, mulligans, if you will. Hey, we are bad. Here, we'll throw you a bone in a revolution here. We can only have so many bra and panty matches until you get fed up with it. Or once a woman gets in the ring, you're going to take a piss or get popcorn or merch. So there's fake foul revolutions that have happened. But I truly think there's a lot of talent in NWA as far as the women's roster. And there's women who have voice right now in wrestling. Aubrey from AEW, they do the AEW Unrestricted. Darby Allin is a great listen this week if you haven't subscribed. AEW Unrestricted. And it's a weekly show. You can watch a YouTube version just like this on their page as well. So Tony Schiavone hosts it, but Aubrey is a great host. And a cool person, and lends credence to a lot of stuff we're talking about right now with women in wrestling, and gives a woman point of view in an otherwise male-dominated world, right? And so that's the thing I'm getting at with this segment here. NWA Girl Power. It was really emotional. Sienna had to drop off the call. She was crying really bad. Camille spoke as Camille. Like, she did her little video package where, like, I'm the Babe Ruth of women's sports. And like, it was so cool how they did it. But in character, like, she spoke, it's not an in character thing. It's her as a person. But it is cool kind of seeing her talk, but it is sad, the circumstances. Pretty much damn near the whole women's roster in NWA spoke about the passing of Anna Kimura and the implications about it. And so they touch base on a lot. Thunder Rosa was really good friends with her, and she did her best keeping it together. But just wanted to highlight some of the things they talk about. I'm not just going to read verbatim, like we're in a courtroom, like I'm typing the word for word and just saying it. But there's some good things that were touched on in this episode. They talked about the culture of perfectionism in Hana's culture, which is true. You know, you have to be academically sound. You have to be resilient. You can't bellyache about stuff. You just got to be resilient, and you got to be successful. And you just like, there's so much perfectionism, and so, you know, it's hard for people to understand people's culture unless it's either demonstrated to you, you're around it, or you're educated about it. And, you know, cultural competency, it's just not one of our strong suits here. It's just not. And so they touched base on that. And I thought that was key. I thought that was really cool because they do explain kind of people that don't get it, because suicide is a difficult topic to touch. And there's a lot of people that look at it as weakness and they go, oh, well, and they throw that stuff in there. You if you haven't walked a mile in somebody's shoes, you don't know. And especially someone from a different culture, you have no clue. They talk about the implications of social media. We talk about fans. We're not going to sit here and act like all wrestling fans are respectful. And especially when we're talking about women's wrestling. And I'm always the guy, you know, did I yell Adam Cole baby to Scarlett when she was a ring announcer in ROH as a rib? She was a jerk to fans, and so I did Adam Cole baby, and it was funny because we knew he was dating her. But did I say crass comments to her or sexualize her or make sexual? No. But if there was somebody around us and they did, like in Chicago, we were at the show where the Bucks beat Red Dragon. Maria was there with Mike, and the dude in front of me said, oh, Maria smells like tuna, and like making like really gross, vulgar comments. And immediately we're like, shut up. And she was right there, and she turned around, and like we were checking them before she even got a chance to. I'm just that way. If I'm at an event or out and I see someone trying to intimidate a woman or they're being crass or disrespectful, I have no issue or reservation with checking that person and making that person feel uncomfortable and hopefully making the woman feel comfortable.
That happened the last time. Yeah, that happened the last time I went to an ROH show, actually. This guy was heckling a women's wrestler, saying to take your top off, and like everybody like got on him. We were all like telling him to shut the F up and kick him out and stuff.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, because it's like I said, it's a man's world, especially in wrestling, man. And look at the way men even talk about women fans. What do they refer to women fans as?
Ring rats.
Ring rats. Right? The whole nature of it is derogatory. If you get a big push and you're a woman, what do they say about you? Did you get there because of your talent?
She slept with the booker or something.
Right.
And we're not going to bring up Delirious or any of that. You know, we're not going to bring up ROH happenings. Like, that's neither here nor there. But everything is looked at differently from a certain lens.
Yeah, it's that good old boy network that they still latching on to the ways, like even the way they deal with racing wrestling. Like they're latching on to the way they did things in the
just the way things have been traditional, right? The good old boys, just locker room talk. Boys being boys.
The Michael PSAs of the world, those kind of guys.
Man, fuck Bad Street.
You took the words out of my mouth. I was about to say the exact same thing.
Fuck Bad Street. I don't want to drop the mic because I don't want any feedback on our podcast. We like to have the quality be as A1 as it can here at Kayfabe Connection.
Doc Hendricks, PSAs, whatever his name, whatever you want to call him.
So yeah, and to Larry's point, yeah, it's that traditional, we can't break tradition. These are our views. We're going to stick to these archaic views as far as women. Look how nasty certain fans get when women are main eventing or their matches go on longer than 4 minutes. Oh, we don't need this. Like, they suck. Or
Right.
hell, even the WNBA, they've been pushing. And it's so tragic and sad. And I don't want to be a downer, but like Kobe was such a advocate for women's basketball, and he really pushed with his daughter to really have the WNBA inch its way up to being an NBA caliber brand. And you know, there will be comments, oh, they can't dunk like the men, and they can't do the things men do, and they don't deserve to be paid more. Women's soccer, the U.S. women's soccer team, they're like the GOAT soccer team ever. Out of
And the U.S. men's team sucks.
They suck ass, and they get paid more.
Yep.
And they took it to court and lost. This is what we're talking about here.
We keep talking about.
Oh, sorry.
No, saying how we keep bragging about just wishing the NBA would come back. I haven't seen one comment about when the WNBA gonna start that season.
But this is what we're talking about here. So yeah, they talk about the implications of social media, that it's basically a wall to hide behind. Like, and I think that's felt across the board with wrestling fans, because you don't even, a lot of the time, dude, you ever notice it's always some dude with like a wrestler as his avatar or an egg, and it's like they got 2 followers and they're saying the most hateful, disgusting stuff on there, and it's all for attention. And they brought up a point about that too, which kind of goes along to Logan's segment talking about the mark wrestler thing, and like you can't basically 2 wrongs don't make a right. Certainly there's people that need to be checked. They need to be checked, and they need to know it's not right. But for the most part, their point was to not engage. Don't argue back and forth with people. And especially if you're a celebrity or like a famous wrestler, that's what they want. They're like, oh shit, did you see I said a dirty word to, whatever, Alexa Bliss or whatever, and she commented. Like, they get off on that. They love the getting blocked as a thing. Like, oh man, I'm gonna piss this person off so they can block me. And it's like this achievement that you got blocked by somebody on social media. And so they just talk about the dark side of social media, especially as women, dude. Hell, Jordan Gray, shout out to her. She has like books that she sells, and isn't it like stories of a women's wrestler DM, or like stories of the DM? It's like some kind of title along those lines. I hate botching it, but yeah, if you go to her Twitter, like she sells that like books, and they're literally just books of just like she does not give a shit. She posts screenshots of what actual fans have said to her and her DMs. And she made a book out of it too, I believe. So they talked about that too, putting people on blast and making them crawl back into their holes instead of like arguing back and forth with them, because that's what they want. They talked about something I think that should be near and dear with all of us, and especially talking about this passing, is mental health. How many times do we hear it where it's just some kind of, shoo away statement, thoughts and prayers, or, oh, you just got to breathe and just be kind. And there's always some generic rhetoric that's involved. But, you talk about culture. Marty Bell brought it up. Like, culturally, she doesn't bring up her issues with her parents. And it's like I agree with that, because I don't like to with mine. Bro, I come to our chat. I go to our chat. If I'm having an issue, I go to our chat before I go to my parents.
Right.
I know I'm going to get some sound guidance or understanding or compassion. And that's not a diss to my parents. It's just, you got to know which avenue you can take to heal or to have some kind of compassion. It's a generational thing. I get it, but it's a cultural thing as well. And so they touch base on that about mental health, like, because okay, we're getting real, we're getting personal, but like in my household, like I didn't get books read to me growing up. I didn't have anybody at the dinner table ask me how my day was. Very rare did I get asked, hey, how was your day today? We didn't have that dinner table conversation. So is that like just a societal thing? Like we kind of went away from that? Like that it's kind of one of those issues that remains to be seen. But the thing is, and I think I fall into this category, I feel I'm the person, you'll see like a meme or a saying that someone will post where they say, check on your strongest friends, whoever you think your strongest friends are, check on them because they're always checking on other people, but they're not the ones getting checked on. It's kind of like I attribute that. I think I fall into that category. And there's people like Marty talks about that a little bit. So she said, she would rather have an abundance of texts of people at all hours being like, yo, how you doing? How was your day? Like, how have you been? Versus generic text or not hearing from people where like you got to reach out just to know how people are doing and maybe they'll ask you how you're doing. So that stuff's real, man. And I know we're talking about the women's psyche right now, but when you talk about mental health, mental health issues, man, they do not discriminate. And I don't care how macho you are. I don't care if you have this facade that you wear where, oh man, I don't let stuff get to me. And man, the brain is the brain. Trauma is trauma.
Right.
Issues are issues. The stuff that's happening right now, those are real issues. That's trauma that certain people can feel and that other people would never imagine how it feels. They have no idea.
That's why I'm drinking this. I'm drinking this coffee now because I couldn't go to sleep.
And you feel sometimes that you can share with some, but you can't go to others and share because they won't understand. They won't get it. And when you bottle that stuff up, man, it does something to you. So being vulnerable to me is strength. I was raised where vulnerability was weakness. Hell, when we played basketball, like if I got fouled and got knocked on the ground, no matter how painful or hard the hit was, it was a rule. My dad was my coach. I had to get right back up.
Right.
You don't do the milk it out, the parents clap, and then you stumble up and you do your little like Oscar thing. Like, no, you get your ass. So I would get hammered in like organized high school ball, not like just some rec league stuff, but like actual competitive, actual games. And like I would get hammered and I would just bounce back up and the ref's like, whoa, you okay? And I'm just looking over like, no, I'm good. Like, and that gets wired. Literally falling and getting back up again, like metaphorically speaking, you just get wired to do that. And when you do that, you're never putting any insight into what's causing the issue, how you deal with it, your behaviors and stuff like that. This is a universal topic, but especially when we're talking about women's mental health and what they have to deal with. When they post a picture and someone makes a jab about their physique, see, we're guys and like you can get clowned on at the reunion or whatever, or in the summer, your polo shirt sticking out of them. Oh man, putting on some weight, man. You need to hit the gym. And oh, we're just busting balls and we're being friends. That stuff hurts too. But when it comes to women's wrestling, it's almost like not only do you have to sell your wrestling ability, you have to sell your sexual appeal. Shayna Baszler. Why the fuck has she not been the women's champ in WWE? I can tell you. Because there's a guy that works in the production truck that, and this is the ironic thing about it, he doesn't find her attractive, and Vince doesn't find her attractive. So I don't ever look at a women's wrestler and try to legitimize her based on her attractiveness.
The whole reason Gail King didn't work in WWE is because they didn't think the fans would think she was attractive.
One of the greatest for women's wrestler.
Because she's Asian.
So you see that?
And she would appeal to a mainstream audience.
Yeah. And, we are luckily in a bygone era where no jab disable. She was an innovator, and Sonny's a piece of shit human. So yeah. I can just say that. I don't care about saying that. full honky tonk man. If you want to bring Sunny up, she's a piece of shit. They laid this groundwork for this bygone era that luckily we don't have women coming out with hands on their breasts painted on it. And
shout out to China too.
it's not shaming a woman for owning her sexuality. That's not what we're saying. The problem is limiting a woman to her sexual appeal and limiting her to, no matter how great she wrestles or bad she wrestles, we're not focused on that. She needs to be marketable as like a sex. And we see that, the sex appeal stuff, we see that in acting. We see that in pop singers, musicians. I know some great underground artists. Hell, Larry, I know you'll speak on this. I'm pretty passionate about it. Rhapsody is one of the dopest, illest MCs in the last 15 years. And I'm not saying women rappers, period. She will eat you for lunch on the mic.
Lawless Wisdom was like probably the best
classic
rap album that came out that year.
And her last album was a classic. Goosebumps on the opening track. The Blood on the Leaves sample.
Yep.
Whew.
She used it right, not the way like Kanye used it or whatever. She used it the right way. It was supposed to be used.
It didn't have the auto. But Rhapsody is one of those examples we could segue to hip hop. Not a jab to Cardi B and Nicki Minaj. Can't knock the hustle. But like she said in that opening track on the Eve album, never sold. What did she say about never selling out? Never showed my body to show how dope I was or something. There's like a line, line in that first verse where she talks about that. But that's what we go for. You'll legitimize someone because they have this full image of what you deem as like, oh, you got to have the butt implant and you got to, like you have to have this certain physique to be. And it's like, you slight people who are actually talented because again, Rhapsody is a top 10 like artist to me. And that's not men and women in a different category. That's rap in general.
Right.
So we bring it back to wrestling. Shayna Baszler, there's no reason why she should not be champion. None. We're talking about wrestling ability. There's no reason why she shouldn't be champion. She gives you an unorthodox style. Entertaining matches, yeah, some of them were kind of underwhelming. She main evented. The Elimination Chamber was kind of underwhelming to some fans. But that Becky-Shayna match, a singles match, not throwing Charlotte or whoever into the gambit to make a triple threat, that was something I think fans really wanted to see. They wanted to see a good feud with those two and Shayna go over. What happens at Mania? Shayna doesn't get the belt. And again, you see a Rumble wasted, an opportunity wasted, a Mania wasted to not elevate somebody. Why? They can say any comment that they want. We all know the reason behind it. So we'll put a bow on this subject. I'm only giving you my perspective of it. You're giving our perspective of it. As men in wrestling, I think don't typecast all male wrestling fans as toxic. Don't feel and I'm not saying how to feel to anybody. I'm just saying there are people like us out there that admire you beyond just what you look like in your presentation. I know that's what the promoters are trying to push on you. I know that's what maybe some of the fans are trying to push on you, what society pushes on you with beauty standards. I cannot thank Marty Bell, Thunder Rosa, and Sienna, Detroit versus everybody. I cannot thank the three of them enough for this episode of Girl Power. Go out of your way to watch it. If you walk your dog or ride your bike this weekend to get some exercise, put it on your earbuds. It's heartfelt. They touch a lot on mental health. They touch a lot on being a woman in a man's world of wrestling. And they do it in a way that is super poignant. It's not hitting you over the head to make you feel like a horrible dude or guy. Because I know there's guys out there that are real insecure about having a lady tell them like it is. It's a great listen, and I encourage everybody to go out there. And hopefully we see many more episodes to come. But man, I had to message them and thank them. and I appreciate hearing a different perspective, because how it played out, and I know that's ironic for me to say that we're on this dude-filled, three-dude podcast with no women representation, but it is nice to get a perspective and an appreciation, and I know we all value that here. So that's it, man. We got real. It's a subject that's important. It happens. And this segment I actually penciled in, because our last segment was, Larry will get to here in a moment, was, things aren't written in stone here. If there's something that's newsworthy, emergency, like, oh, we need to really talk about this, it felt something that should be addressed. And especially in the wake of the passing of Anna Kimura, again, the cyberbullying stuff, the issue with women in wrestling, it just felt like a topic that needed to be discussed. So if you want to know where we stand on that, this is where we stand on this issue. So moving forward here, our final segment before our main event tonight and our triple threat. I'm ready for this triple threat. This is kind of a foreshadowing, if you will, of tonight's triple threat main event topic. Larry, did you not mark out when Brian Cage came out with Taz?
Y'all know how I feel about Taz. Like, I was at work, like, jumping up. And this is not that USA, I mean, not the USA, the UPN network, SmackDown Taz, like with 2 Z's. That promo he gave, that was the 1 Z Taz. The Taz that I grew up on, like 96, 97, 98 Taz. And then he ended the promo with "Survive, beat me if I can, survive if I let you," which was like his famous ECW tagline. When he said that, I lost
Great tip of the hat.
it. But it just goes to show you how they're able to use legends in a meaningful way. Now I know there's a couple of people complaining on Twitter saying that why all legends have to be managers or whatever. But I'm like, at least they're
Dookiest take ever, dude.
I don't get it. I mean, have they fumbled the ball with a legend yet? Jake the Snake is doing well. Taz is obviously doing well with Brian Cage.
Facts.
I see no issues. Tully Blanchard, Arn Anderson. I love the coach thing he's doing.
Brandy with QT and Dustin and Cody.
Yeah. I'm actually glad they bring in, like, two things I love about AEW that WWE dropped the ball on over the years, that they're putting referees over. Like, we actually know who the referees are in these matches. And also, too, they're making managers great again.
Yeah, absolutely. WWE, I will say, and give credit to Zelina Vega, man. She kills it as a manager.
Yeah. And it's crazy that WWE doesn't really take the manager position serious anymore. I guess Paul Heyman's not even a manager. He's what does he call himself? An advocate?
Yeah.
But when you look back at the WWF, like the stuff we grew up on in the 80s, it was all about managers. They were more popular than the wrestlers, some could argue.
Oh, yeah. We'll get into it again, foreshadowing.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, again, if we're talking like categories or we're keeping score, you got to look no further than All Elite Wrestling right now and how they're utilizing the manager role. And again, when people ask me, what do you think they're doing right that the other companies aren't? That's another example. Tag team wrestling and the importance of managers and the role that they play in getting people over. Oh, another guy too, shout out to MVP. Now, I haven't been current with the product. I've only seen like little snippets because I follow MVP, and I appreciate him as a human being too. I like his non-wrestling takes, but him being Lashley's manager, and a lot of people will agree, he's been kind of like the MVP of Raw, and a show that's very stale and kind of predictable. He's very unpredictable and must see, and he just has a knack for the mic, like. And he's so charismatic too. So MVP has really cemented himself in this new role as a manager. And for somebody like Bobby Lashley that they'll never shit or get off the pot on, maybe this is the moment the thing that they needed to really get Lashley over is to pair him with.
Oh, so MVP is managing Lashley?
Yeah.
Oh wow, all right.
Yeah. So shout out to him, man. Isn't that kind of one of the things, like if you go to your earliest wrestling memories, isn't like wrestling managers kind of the go-to that you think about as much as you do about the actual wrestlers themselves? I think a lot of memories of, and again, we don't want to spoil our main event, but I think back into, I could name drop like 6 different ones off top, like just from one company, beyond just, you know, WCW or ECW or any of the other companies, just how pivotal managers were. And the big 3, ECW, WCW, and WWE.
Right.
They were as charismatic, if not more, than some of the wrestlers, and were more over than certain wrestlers. So, yeah, managers and wrestling, man. That again, a company that keeps their ears to the ground to what fans actually want to see, and I think that's pretty universal. That fans enjoy managers because that's what we grew up on, and that's been a norm in wrestling. And there's beyond that, there's an importance to the manager role in wrestling. You know, the manager can be the mouthpiece, the manager can interfere, cheat if you're a heel. You know, you can get in the face of somebody and cut a promo if that person's injured to kind of like shave a few weeks off of the feud, you know, to be the talking point, you know. So there's such an importance in managers and wrestling, and it just sucks because it did for a long time see like it was a dying breed. Shout out to Ric Flair though for pushing AJ Styles around in the wheelchair in TNA though. That was one. Remember that?
Yeah, I remember that. Fortune, huh?
I loved it, dude. Fortune was tight. I don't care. Fortune was tight.
Okay.
I'm gonna say it right now. But yeah, anything else to add on the manager role, Larry?
Nah, it's just I'm glad they're taking it serious, because even like with Jake the Snake, like you could tell like he's loving this stuff. Like I would never think to put Jake the Snake with Lance Archer or Taz with Brian Cage, but both make perfect sense.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Jake the Snake, we didn't even talk about that. Dude, Jake the Snake and Lance Archer, I mean,
perfect
pairing. There is not one pairing that I've seen thus far on this company where I'm like, it's not working.
Right.
Perfect pairing. You could argue that Spears doesn't really have a lot of momentum right now, but again, going back to a previous segment we just talked about, that's going to change real quick. And especially with Arn and Cody and the 2 of the 4 horsemen together for that stable, I think we're really going to see an emergence of more managers and wrestlers in the role they play in the main storyline. So without further ado, that brings us to the main event of this evening on the Kayfabe Connection podcast. This is our triple threat. Tonight's triple threat topic is scheduled for one fall.
One.
Top 3 managers of all time. I'll drop mine right now if you want.
Yeah, you go and then I'll go. Oh,
we've kind of we can go Tarantino style. I always end it like we can go Tarantino style and just
because y'all grew up more in a more manager era than I did. Yeah.
All right, that's why I got a feeling me and Fred gonna have some of the list too. So
right, mine is I had to go back and watch videotapes. So like,
so you want me to start the match off?
Yeah, you can.
Managers?
Yeah, all right, because I'm getting something ready. I got a presentation.
The Mouth of the South, honorable mention. The Mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart. I mean, how many different teams or wrestlers was Jimmy Hart a part of as far as managing? A lot. In WWE and WCW. You could count on both hands the different wrestlers that he was a manager for. And a lot of people's go-tos is Hogan, but there were so many more. And of course, you know, certain managers, and especially in the 80s, the prop was the thing that got him over, you know? And so he had the megaphone. And, you know, he would have the airbrush kind of stuff on it, and it's so annoying. But that's the point. Like, that's what gets it over. That's the point. So, Mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart. Top 3 here. Number 3, Elizabeth. Will you? Dude, he said it 3 times. Elizabeth. Rest in peace, Macho Man. Top 5 wrestler of all time. Miss Elizabeth, man. Come on, dude.
You even got a Griselda song named that.
One of my favorite Griselda songs. Top 3.
Yeah, that's probably that's
especially
top 2
live.
for me too.
If you are fortunate enough to see Griselda live, like I have been, Elizabeth is one of those. As soon as that freaking horn goes off and the beat drops, you're just like. But anyways, yeah, Miss Elizabeth, such a pivotal person, especially if you think Macho Man, you think Miss Elizabeth.
Yep.
Period. And as I'm saying that, I'm already starting to think of somebody I left off the list. I'm sure Larry will probably get to it. Maybe not. But that's the fun of these triple threats. As soon as you give your top 3, you're like, oh, I messed up. Oh, I could put that for, yeah, that's the fun of this. Number 2, throw the salt in the face.
Mr. Fuji.
Mr. Fuji, man. You think Yokozuna, who do you think of?
Mr. Fuji.
Mr. Fuji. That's what I'm saying. That's how important the role is. You say the wrestler, that's the memory that comes to mind. Mr. Fuji, dude, was the ultimate heel. In the salt to the face gimmick, like that's so, it's legendary, man. And he'll always be remembered. Now, there's some off-cuff crazy. This dude was crazy, apparently. If you've heard any interviews about Mr. Fuji, dude was wild.
I have heard.
Oh, yeah. I'm not going to delve into that. We're just talking about managers here. Wrestling kayfabe, bro. Mr. Fuji, number 2.
Also, a Griselda song, too.
Another, yeah. And rounding up, we got all Griselda songs here on my list. Number 1, Bobby the Brain Heenan. The Heenan family. Come on, man. Like, such a legendary piece. The jacket, the swagger.
Right.
So many sound bites that you can use of his. Humanoids. Rest in peace, man. It was so tough seeing him in the condition he was all those years.
Yeah.
But so many fun, great wrestling memories. And then just as a commentator, dude, beyond just as a manager, he transcended that and was more notable as a commentator. Danny
fans, yep.
Spoiled the NWO. He's the third man. You're like, bro, can we let the storyline play out? Like, can we let him get to the ring? And he's the third man, bro. Like, let it breathe a little bit.
Back then, no, I didn't know till he actually did the leg drop, though.
But, man, Bobby the Brain Heenan, all-time great. He's my GOAT manager of all time. Any wrestling company, Bobby the Brain Heenan. That's my triple threat. That's my top 3.
That's a good list.
All right.
Appreciate it. I'm already kicking myself, though. I left somebody out. I want to see if Larry has it.
I probably do. All right, so I'm going to go with a couple of honorable mentions I have. First I have is Precious Paul Ellering.
Oh, man. That's a good one.
Yeah. You think of, just like we talk about when you think of certain people, when you think of like Legion of Doom was running WWF, Paul Ellering was always there. And like managers back in the day, like they were legit managers for the wrestler. So like Paul Ellering like handled all of their business, Hawking Animals business. He always just had a cool look, like the leather jacket, the glasses, the newspaper rolled up, like smacking it in the sand.
Yeah.
It made me mad. Like Logan, remember when I guess whatever takeover it was that he debuted with the Authors of Pain and the Full Sail crowd didn't pop for him. I was like, do y'all realize who's in the ring? He's like legit one of the best managers of all time. But that speaks volumes to like the Full Sail crowd, but that's another story. And then
Who are you? Really? Really?
Another guy I have, I mean, he really only managed, I guess, like 2 people in a gimmick that he had, well, that was most well known. But I have to go Paul Bearer for honorable mention, just because I think without Paul Bearer, Undertaker would have. I don't think he would have lasted as long as he did.
Right.
Because I mean, the Undertaker character, like he didn't talk for like the first, I would say up until like the mid '90s. I didn't really hear him cut a promo. But
Yeah.
Paul Bearer, Paul Bearer was always right there cutting a promo, raising the urn during the matches. Like when you think of Undertaker with the purple spats and the purple gloves, you always think about Paul Bearer standing right behind him.
He used to think that was real too. Like,
Yeah.
also,
Also,
you gotta raise the urn for him to come
also
back.
the guy Percy, his real name, he actually was fundamental in starting Wildcat Wrestling here in New Orleans too. So he's always like a big
Godfather.
influence on New Orleans scene because the Gulf Coast region in general, he helped a lot of wrestling promotions along the way. All right, now getting into my top three. The third choice. There we go, right on the picture. I met him actually at work one time. The Mouth of the South. Fred already brought him up. This is actually the same day I met Hogan. Like I was saying earlier, how managers like really manage the wrestlers they manage in the ring.
Right.
It's really Hulk Hogan's manager. Well, it was at the time. So anywhere Hogan would go, Jimmy Hart was always there, and he showed up to work that day too. So I got to meet him. This was like maybe like a couple of weeks before WrestleMania 30, the first WrestleMania that took place here. But like Fred said, like he's iconic, like the megaphone. He had an airbrush fit for every wrestler he managed. The mullet, as you can see, he still rocks it.
That
the
hairspray, bro. That's a lot of hairspray.
It's crazy because this picture was taken in 2014? He still looks the same like he did in 1988.
Yep.
But even beyond Hogan, I mean, when I think of Jimmy Hart, first I think of the Hart Foundation.
Yeah. Yep.
All of those tag team wars they had back in the day with WWF, like those are some good matches, and Jimmy Hart played a pivotal role in those matches. That's my number 3 pick. Let me turn my video back on. All right. Number 2, I should have got a picture with this guy in New York last year because I got to talk to him for a minute. And he's kind of problematic, but I'm going to go with him anyway. Jim Cornette.
Man, he was on mine.
Oh, he could still be on yours. But for the same reasons, Jimmy Hart, like Jim Cornette was like this loud, obnoxious guy. Instead of the megaphone, he had the tennis racket. He would always hit people. The tennis racket would always find his way in the match some kind of way. But actually, my first WCW show that I ever watched, Jim Cornette was in. He was managing the Midnight Express, which is probably his most well-known tag team that he managed. He had some classic moments with them. But Jim Cornette was like the heat seeker. Like any crowd, he would always get the heat. And that's what heel managers are supposed to do at the end of the day. They're supposed to be heat seekers. And there's a lot of Jim Cornette and MJF, I think. Well, a lot of people say that it's obvious, but long after MJF wrestling career is over, I think he's going to be a manager and be one of the best managers of all time. Like he's Jim Cornette to 2020, basically. All right, then my last pick. I got to go with the same guy Fred picked. I mean, Bobby the Brain Heenan. Like, I can't pick anybody other than Bobby the Brain Heenan for number 1. For the same reason I talked about with Jim Cornette, like Bobby the Brain is a heat seeker. He always found a way to get the crowd to hate him. He also took a lot of bumps, too. He bumped just as much as some of the wrestlers did.
He could cut tough.
He could cut a good promo. He's also like one of my favorite announced teams. That'll probably be a triple threat for another time, like favorite announced teams. But I would say Bobby Heenan and Tony Schiavone are on that list for me somewhere. So he was able to reinvent himself as an announcer. Even towards the end of WCW, like 2000, 1999, 2001, you could tell he stopped caring about the product. Like he didn't care. He just showed up to work. But even then, it was great because he didn't care. And it showed on TV, but he never mailed it in. This is everything he did. It was gold. Like I remember, I forgot which WrestleMania it was when they had the gimmick Royal Rumble, and they brought him out to announce that match.
Yeah, sure did.
That was like the moment. That was like the moment of the show for me. Seeing Bobby Heenan come back in the announce booth.
Right.
So yeah, Bobby Heenan, the GOAT. Just from reading these names, I forgot to mention Gary Hart. He should be on there too, because he literally like wrote the book on managers. Like, if anybody knows anything about wrestling books, the Gary Hart book is like one of the most sought after books in wrestling because it's out of print. There's a lot of bootleg copies floating around there that you can download, but if you find an actual book in a bookstore, buy it because it's rare. But that's my top 3 list. Bobby the Brain Heenan, number 1. Jim Cornette, number 2. And I'm out of the South, Jimmy Hart, number 3.
Solid, man. Logan.
All right. Since y'all guys grew when I came along, it was kind of like getting phased out a little bit. But if I had to go with a list, I would say my honorable mention, I would pick Sonny Ono first. Because he always and I'm going after people and who they was associated with. Yeah. He always was associated with like cool cruiserweights.
Ultimo Dragon, yeah.
Right. I just watched a couple of his stuff today. Number 2, I would probably say Powerrr. Obviously, that was probably one of my first managers that I've experienced, and I used to be legit scared of him and Undertaker as a kid. It's like you always had to have a little lamp on when he came out. I used to think it was so real when he raised the urn, and just to make the Undertaker rise. And then obviously, he transitioned over to managing King. I thought that was pretty dope.
Died of shed blind, yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I think he was probably more scarier when he was with King than he was with
yeah. Yeah.
Let's see, somebody else. I would have to probably go with Paul Heyman. I don't have no top 3 order, so I'll just go with Paul Heyman. Obviously the Dangerous Alliance. One of the greatest stables of all time.
Morris phone, dude.
Right. All the way to my high school days when he was managing Brock Lesnar, when I actually cared about the product over in that company. When he actually wrestled, because I don't pay attention to that shit now. Some other mentions would probably be Jim Cornette, because he's like one of the first like real heel managers that I experienced watching Halloween Havoc '89, one of the first tapes that I ever watched. It's like he wanted to see this guy get beat up. He had the little suit on with the tennis racket, and he was just so annoying. And that'd be my picks.
I forgot Bill. I should have said Bill Alfonso too. That's another one.
Right. Bill Alfonso.
He was during the podcast. I'm thinking in my mind as I'm talking. I'm like, oh shit.
Father James Mitchell. I could go with him too.
Yeah. See, I actually like, if we're gonna talk current managers.
TNA.
I like Taka Michinoku with Zack Sabre.
Yeah, he's pretty awesome with him.
Solid. Yeah. Sensational Sherry's who I thought you were gonna name, Larry.
China. If I want to mention a woman, China was my childhood era. I was in 4th grade when she first came out.
Yeah.
She's basically doing the thing that Camille's doing to Nick Aldis.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sherry with Harlem Heat. Sherry with Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, y'all know the Shawn Michaels. I know the Harlem Heat version.
No love for Slick on the podcast.
Oh.
Hey, I actually had a Slick toy.
Yeah,
I had the big
Slick.
I had it. I had the LGN like 8-inch Slick.
But I understand his whole gimmick until I got older. I'm like, wait.
Also, another guy who I like, Teddy Long. When he managed Doom.
Yeah.
WCW Teddy Long when he managed Doom. Ron Simmons and whatchamacallit.
But that's the crazy part about this triple threat is like, it's hard to box 3 people in.
Yeah, and then you kick yourself in the ass for going, damn, Bill Alfonso, man, or like we said.
And I do this off the top of my head, like I don't really think about it all day because I feel like the list is just gonna keep constantly changing,
evolving. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, that's literally what I do for the triple threat. I put 1, 2, 3, and go. Like it's who comes to mind first,
right?
And just go with my gut on it. Triple threats are fun, man. And we'd like for you to get involved too. There's several avenues where you can touch base with us and say, hey, here's who my 3 top managers are. Because you're in the match too. You can tag in or whatever. Kayfabe Connection on Twitter at the letter K, FABE Connection. Tweet us there. We'll tweet it out tonight. as the podcast goes live and available on YouTube. And speaking of YouTube, subscribe. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the bell so you know when we drop. We drop on Fridays. Kicking off your weekend every weekend. Talk about everything in the great world of wrestling as well as culture and nerdy fun stuff that we're into. It could be Star Wars, could be video games, could be anything. So follow us on Twitter, subscribe on YouTube, follow us on Instagram too. Pretty heavy on Instagram, IG stories, swipe up, links are there, link in the bio. Episodes are always posted in the bio on the Kayfabe Connection Instagram. So I try to make it as easy as possible for people to find us so that it's not like, hey, just search us here. Like I want to give you direct links so that you can be in touch with us because it's not just our voice, it's your voice as well. We want to hear what you guys have to say. In regards to pro wrestling, get a conversation going. So that's all the plugs I got. Any other plugs to get out of the way before we wrap things up on another fantastic episode this week?
I just want to say RIP to George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and Ahmaud Arbery once again. That's all I want to say.
There's nothing. There's no just like I got nothing. Can't
Same
put
here.
it any better than myself, Logan.
Wait, I got one more manager who was also a pretty big manager when I was a kid. Ted DiBiase with Money Inc.
Oh, Money
Used to
Inc.
stuff the money.
Man,
He wasn't even a wrestler. He wasn't even a wrestler in my day. He was a manager.
I can't believe I forgot about that.
Right. He sold out Lex.
Yeah, you sold out Lex. I can't believe it. Shout out to Tatanka. You sold out Lex.
Well, I think that does it, man. Hey, things are real crazy right now. We got pro wrestling. We got each other. Be kind to one another, man. Like the old VHS saying, be kind, rewind, right? Be kind to one another. Talk wrestling. You don't agree with somebody? Cool. Keep it moving. There's no need to poo-poo on somebody because they favor different wrestling than you do. Just do your best, man. Go out of your way to be nice. It's easier to be nice than it is to be mean to somebody. This is Kayfabe Connection telling you, man, next time someone tells you wrestling's fake, you know what you tell them? So are movies and TV.